What is a Stargate? An aperture of resonance where your field remembers itself. Tonight we'll locate that angle in your life, meet the council that supports it, and learn how this helps you to begin changing reality from the inside out. This is Rooted Frequency. I'm your host, Tiffany Haney. If you're new here, welcome. I am so thrilled to have you. Please subscribe. So many of our listeners don't subscribe, and I would love it if you didn't miss the next episode, so hit that little bell too. Let's start with a reframe. In the Codex Universalis, in harmonic cosmology, a Stargate is not a middle doorway. It's harmonic, a place where geometry, wave interference, and consciousness converge. You can think of it as a precise angle at which experience flips, where density converts to awareness. In normal terms, the moment when you stop reacting and start remembering. On top of this, we're going to go deep into a topic that's really been alive for me lately: the Council of Souls and the lineages we are a part of. Now, when I say Council of Souls, I'm talking about the higher level or dimensional gathering of consciousness that you, me, and every being is connected to. So it's like the spiritual advisory board that exists beyond the veil, helping us, guiding us, nudging us back into alignment for our purpose. And I think it's important for us to get somewhat of an understanding of these councils, because some of them are already here, and others may well be on their way. Now, before we break down our Council of Souls and who meets you at the gate, I'm going to circle back to the Codex and this idea of angles, because it is complicated, yet once it clicks, it clicks. I'm sure you've heard of the golden ratio. The golden ratio is a universal spiral code, and it shows up in shells, galaxies, and human faces. This number, 161.816 degrees, comes from this golden ratio, and it's the sacred proportion our bodies and nature love, which is approximately 1.61816. If you multiply it by 100, you get 161.816, which we use as a poetic way to name a turning point in the spiral of existence. So if you think of your life as a spiral, repeating patterns, breaking ancestral karma, and, history repeats itself, so everything circles back. But each time, one layer up. At a certain point, the spiral doesn't continue. It flips, inverts, or opens into a new pitch. That's inflection. That's where your story collapses and a different octave of knowing appears. And it is what we refer to as Stargate. You don't need a protractor to find it. You feel it. A sudden change in how you interpret yourself, a collapse of an old narrative, an opening that feels like a higher, clearer tone inside of you. So it's the symbolic pointer to a place where transformation accelerates. So what are we doing? Awakening, leveling up. So we think of this spiral, and then there's a Stargate and pops you up to the next level. I believe there's various levels within the 3D, and then at some point we rise to 5D, right? And then 7D. The moment that we hit that point where we cannot rise any longer on that frequency, the spiral inverts and a new frequency is born. And it feels like a lot of the things we talk about when we talk about awakening. So you can recognize your Stargate. Basically a sudden collapse of an old story, one belief that used to hold everything together and no longer fits for you. A visceral release in the body, breath comes easier, shoulders drop, or a physical loosening, a clarity or impulse that feels like a different octave, not necessarily more information, but just a different tone of knowing and understanding. Another thing that happens is synchronicities accelerate. These small confirmations show up that weren't there before, and back to back. There also could be a moral or ethical pivot, and you just can't compromise anymore. You have to speak your truth. So what we can kind of whittle it down to, a Stargate is the geometry of remembrance, where suffering becomes light. Each time we rise up, there is a council to meet us at the gate, the Council of Souls, your Council of Souls. And these are the voices that gather: Ancestral councils, star councils, elemental, archangelic, ascended master lineages. Each council brings a language, a frequency. Each language gives you tools to integrate the Stargate experience into daily life. Now, I know a lot of this sounds very abstract, but don't worry, please hang in there with me. And I'm hoping you'll have that light bulb moment by the end. Stop picturing these pearly gates and these glowing beings that are meeting you there. These are guides, helpers, and allies who show up to support you. And as you ascend, as you go through these spirals, as you rise through the next Stargate, some of them become easier to identify as well. Certain people seem like they were heaven sent to save you. These lineages are ancestors, your star family, your elemental guides, archangels, and ascended masters. Each group has its own way of speaking to you, some through feelings, some through symbols, signs, and dreams. Some speak through ideas or sudden knowing. When you open the gate, you start to hear them. Not all at once, not like a loud choir, but like each one is giving a piece of the puzzle you need in that moment. They meet you when they need to, when you need them. They meet you exactly where you are, ready to help you step into your next level. So unlike that magical golden ratio number, these councils are not abstract. They're deeply personal. They're an advisory circle, holding you in love and reminding you who you are. They're guides, ancestors, highest selves. And then when we begin to remember them, to listen to them, we step into alignment with something much greater than ourselves. Everyone does not have the exact same counsel. Each of us has different counsels depending on our soul path. So I like to identify counsels in order to understand my soul path better. A lot of us get stuck on the details of what is my purpose? Why am I here? Well, understanding your counsel and your lineage and the things that you resonate most with will help you decipher that. Like I said, another piece of the puzzle. So let's really break these down together. Starting with usually the most familiar, your ancestral council. So that's the group of souls from your bloodline. Your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, going back hundreds, even thousands of years. Some of them you may have known in the physical, and others you may never have heard of, but they're still present, woven into your DNA, whispering to you through your blood. The thing about ancestral lineage is that they carry both wisdom and wounds. So when you connect with your ancestral council, you're connecting not only to their love and protection, but also your ancestral trauma, the unhealed trauma that keeps us in the spirals, that keeps you from leveling up. The cycles we build, the stories that were silenced, the gifts that never had the chance to blossom. You probably notice certain patterns that repeat in your family, like scarcity, illness, or even the types of relationships that you choose. That's ancestral energy, ancestral patterns. But the empowering part of it is when you choose to heal, when you choose differently, you're not just healing yourself. You're healing backwards and forwards in time. You're liberating your lineage. Then we have our star origin councils and galactic lineages. This one feels less physical, but it's just as real. It's your star origin councils. For most of us, Earth is not our soul's first home. Our consciousness may have traveled through other star systems, Pleiades, Sirius, Arcturus, Andromeda, Orion, and beyond. And these aren't just stories, they're memories. When we feel drawn to the stars and look at the night sky and feel homesick, your star lineage is speaking. Star origin councils are groups of beings who hold vibration to those places, reminding you of technology all of a sudden, old ancient technology, wisdom, and frequency that you came here to embody. For example, some star lineages carry the codes of healing sound, others of crystal grids, others of deep compassion and unity consciousness. So when you connect to your star council, you often begin to remember your mission on Earth. Your star lineage isn't about waiting to escape Earth. It's about grounding those higher frequencies into Earth. That's your role as a bridge. Star seeds are bridges. We also have Earth mission councils. So these are souls who gather with you specifically for this lifetime, for this turning point in humanity's story. You have understood that you are going to cross paths before you make this journey. They're invested in why you're here now. You may feel them when you're lost or asking the universe, why am I here? What's my role? And you can sense presence, energy, or even just that little inner voice that says, keep going, you're on track. That's your Earth Mission Council. It's like your personal team for this incarnation. They hold the vision of what you came here to contribute, whether through art, teaching, parenting, leadership, or simply the vibration that you hold in your daily life, maybe just to wake people up. Connecting with this council reminds you that your mission is not random. It is divinely appointed. Now, this council can be kind of like our guardian angels around us that we feel, or also coming through what we perceive to be highest self, or actual people alive in this incarnation here to help us. There's also the Oversoul councils. It's a very powerful one. You can think of your Oversoul as the larger family of your soul, basically the greater consciousness that births multiple soul sparks, multiple lifelines, multiple expressions of itself. Your Oversoul council is made up of those expressions, those other aspects of you and your soul family who are walking different lifetimes, sometimes even simultaneously. And when you connect with this council, you may feel like you are touching on a vast network of support. Kind of realizing that you're, like when we say tapping into consciousness. Learning, sharing, and evolving together. On top of these councils, there are lineages of light. So within these councils, they're basically specific lineages of energy that you walk with. Within here, we have angelic lineages. So if you resonate with archangels or feel surrounded by wings and light, or you really are called to prayer or protection work, you could be walking with an angelic lineage. This lineage is carrying frequencies of unconditional love, protection, and service. There's also elemental lineages. So if you feel very close to the earth, the trees, the water, the fires, the winds, this may be your lineage. Elementals remind us that we're not separate from nature. We are nature. Walking with an elemental lineage usually gives you healing gifts, maybe tied to herbs, ritual, or working directly with earth energy. And then we also have ascended master lineages. So these are lineages connected to beings who have fully recognized their divinity on earth, like Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Buddha, Kuan Yin, and others. So if you feel drawn to a particular ascended master's teachings, or you feel a sense of their presence, a connection that you can't explain, you could carry a thread of their lineage. And that's often going to bring teachings of compassion, forgiveness, and mastery. These are not tiered. One is not better than the other. It simply helps us understand our energetic DNA that our soul resonates with. And by identifying our lineage, we can identify the stream of energy that we can tap into that's going to be the most powerful for us. When you begin to connect with your counsel and lineage, you begin to understand your purpose. You stop asking, am I making this up? And you start realizing, okay, I've been guided all along. Your counsel is like your roots, and your lineages are like the rivers through your soul. Together, they feed the tree of your soul's purpose. One way to really connect and discover more about this would be to do a very simple practice. You can just take a moment when you have peace and quiet during the day, close your eyes, and ask inwardly, who sits in my counsel? What lineages flow through me? You don't have to do a giant meditation. You don't have to force the answer. Just allow impressions, feelings or memories or words to arise. Journal them. Trust that what comes out is exactly what you need to know right now. There's one more counsel to talk about, and it's not usually mentioned as a separate counsel because there is some overlap with this counsel and beings that work in both. But they are basically the ones that hold you to your soul agreement, your soul contract. Sometimes this counsel is strict and sometimes nurturing, but these are those moments when you feel a bigger purpose that's reminding you of the bigger why. It's this thread of purpose running through you and your life. So as we move through life, it is important to understand what is happening. Understand the energy, understand the moments of importance that are tied to purpose, that are tied to rising up. If we go back to Stargates and look at it as an aperture of resonance, basically this harmonic point in the field where geometry, memory, and consciousness fold together. This is a lot of things that Robert Grant has talked about. So think of it more as a doorway in frequency rather than a doorway that's physical, like in stone. It opens when the incoming resonance matches the pattern embedded in the gate. So those patterns aren't random. They're encoded with lineage signatures, the symbolic and energetic fingerprints carried by particular soul families, carried by ancestral streams or star origin currents. By looking at it like this, we can see that certain bloodlines and lineages act like tuning forks. Some are going to naturally sing at a pitch of a specific gate, and others will not. Not out of worth, not out of hierarchy, but because resonance is very particular. When we sometimes say only certain bloodlines can access particular stargates, what we're describing is an ancient economy of imprinting and initiation. There's a reason that bloodlines among the elite are so secretly kept, so, they don't want contamination of this lineage line. Over lifetimes, those signatures can be reinforced in family practices, ritual, language, and even in field patterns like inherited memory. From the soul's perspective, it's less about DNA as modern science defines it, and more about like soul DNA. These encoded frequencies pass through incarnation, ritual, trauma, and devotion. Now, access. Access is rarely automatic. It's almost always ritualized. Many lineages contain initiatory practices, songs, numbers, gestures, or symbolic geometries that train the nervous system and the field to align the gate's pitch. And the reason we're talking about this is because the elites understand this. It's like a big secret that if we are to talk about it, we're made to seem insane because they don't want us to know these secrets. They don't want us to find these keys. So they keep these things secret so we cannot rise up, so we cannot access our stargates. Some of these gates transmute certain densities into higher octaves, and you cannot access them until you understand the responsibility that comes with that. Boundary, consent, and service. Those who carry the key carry a duty to use it for collective recalibration, not personal elevation. It is not about our journey. Understanding our individual journeys is how we can understand how to best contribute to the collective, because it's about our collective awakening, our collective leveling up, our collective connection, lessons, patterns, practices that build symbolic coherence. So breath, ritual, sigils, sound, and lineage ritual. The stargates we pass through are not levels that we're checking off. They're thresholds, and they carry those harmonics back with us into the world. So I know maybe this episode felt a little bit abstract or hard to wrap your mind around, right? But I'm going to bring it full circle for you. All of this, the councils, the lineages, the stargates, it's all just pointing to one big thing. Your purpose. Not your to-do list, not your job title, not what society tells you is important or who you need to be. Your purpose is a vibration. It's the vibration you were born to hold. It's the frequency your soul came here to express. And these councils, the ancestral streams, the elemental guides, and even your star and oversoul connections, they are assisting in your remembrance of that. Your stargates are doorways to higher understanding. They are where density, suffering, old stories, fear can flip into clarity, knowing, and light. But here's the reality. These frequencies and gates are not easy to stumble upon. In fact, you won't stumble upon them. They are hidden, encrypted in patterns only accessible to those who deeply resonate with the lineage energy they belong to. And if we look through history, you'll see that the elite have tried to suppress this knowledge, deliberately keeping the collective disconnected from these gates, from our codes of remembrance, from the higher harmonics that could awaken power and sovereignty in the people. This is what we had in Atlantis. Temples that had frequency and things that woke you up and had made you have the ability to access things within yourself. Even if you want to do another rabbit hole, look at how many bells have been destroyed all over the world. These bells were used to cleanse energy. They want energy to be stuck. They want things to feel overwhelming. They do not want you to remember. But we're going to remember, and we're going to talk about it. We are going to remember. We are going to access these higher harmonics and awaken power and sovereignty in the collective people. And that is our pledge to do. And you don't need to understand exactly how to do it. All you need to do is show up. That's the truth. Your lineage is key. Show up for yourself, understand who you are, understand your lineage, understand your purpose. And if you're paying attention, you can begin to see the traits of your lineage showing up in your life. Look at what patterns are there in your life. What patterns repeat in your family? If you analyze your family and you're like, we always have this constant struggle with money. Everyone, each generation complains about money, worries about money, or even if they have money, is obsessed with money. It's this controlling energy. That may be your ancestral karma. That's pointing you towards an ancestral resonance that you can tap into to address these dark shadows, to heal, spiral up, and access your next Stargate. Look at if you're drawn to the stars, the cosmos, knowing as much as you possibly can about planet alignment or astrology. Access your star lineage. It's calling to you. It's talking to you. If you feel called to elements, to ritual, to nature, to ground, that's elemental energy. Use it, tap into it. It is there to help you. If you really think about all of these councils all around us wanting to help us, and so often we just are, I'm going to go at this alone. It's stupid, is what it is. Use your resources. If you're super drawn to a particular ascended master, work with them. Or you have an angel that speaks to you, or all the angels. Draw your awareness and consciousness and energy into that line of angelic guidance. These things are not random that you feel. It's not like you just randomly like angels. They're markers. They're showing us where our frequency naturally resides and where you can access that to open the gates. Basically, signposts showing you all along your ride here on Earth where you can step into your next octave. So today, this episode may not have been one of our juiciest ones, but it's an important one because these lineages are screaming out for us to notice them. And we're so dulled and desensitized, and it's not entirely our fault. The world makes everything very difficult. And how hard is it not to worry about where your next mortgage payment is coming from? Most of us, if you're listening to this from America anyways, we're struggling. Do not go over to TikTok and look at how people live in China, because I fell down that rabbit hole and I got very depressed. Side note, if anybody wants to reach out to me and give me a job in China so that I can move, let me know. So please notice your lineages. Call in your councils. Work with them. Listen for the whispers, the signs, and the insights. Once you start to notice them, they're going to increase. Because we are making a promise to one another. If you're still here, you're still with me. I promise you, you promise me, that we are going to step courageously into our Stargates. Understanding that each time that we do, we're not only expanding our own agenda and ourself, we are helping the collective to remember. Cracking open these gates that the elites cannot hide from us anymore. We are bringing those frequencies back into the world. Things are cracking all around us. So take a deep breath, feel your lineage, see the gates opening, and remember, your purpose is not hidden. It is encoded in your very being. You just have to recognize the keys, honor the counsels, and step forward. Thank you for walking this path with me today. Remember that your councils are with you, the lineages are within, and your gates are ready to open. One breath, one insight, one conversation, one shift at a time. Do me a favor and share this episode with one person. That is also us doing our job to help awaken things in others by having the conversations and spreading the word. Love, love, love you all. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Let me know what you think, or leave me a note in the comments about which of the councils and lineages you are working with or drawn to. See you at the next one. Bye. Everything is connected. Energy, science, quantum physics.